is ócáid anspeciálta mar is é an céad comisiún a bhí atá déanta ag áras in isglúra go alíontóir áitiúil. And an rud is, I think, is spéisiúil agus faoin tugra seo ná go bhfuil sé bainteach leis an timpeallacht atá timpealóring go háirithe an fó dubh. And I think it was not by any happenstance, as a bit of a heathen, at times like this I'm brought into question that there is a God, that it was only Fergus could come across this buoy, because his artistic eye immediately shot into focus and he said, there is a massive story in this. And it even has gotten bigger than I had seen. We have Theresa Mannion here from RTE, went out in the 6-1 news. It's going to go out in the 9 o'clock news. TG Carr covered it. Radio 1 covered it. Radio na Gaeltachta covered it. And the Science Gallery in Dublin have expressed an interest in taking it in the summer. And I suppose, and we have some of our friends who work for us next door, Ross and the guys who occupy this space down the other side of the building from us, and I'm always curious what they're at, and it's like a big secret science, and their brains are always going, and we're just kind of spacing out trying to think of arty things. But science and art does meet, and it's really, really crucial that we see that. And the Science Gallery in Dublin is promoting that, and I would hope through it's a fantastic educational exhibition. It's also brilliantly put together. The artistic, the photos that Fergus took and the photos that were sent over from the North Pole are amazing, and we see the contrast. But it also brings us very much together in this great global community. And it is very, very important that we have deisinair and opportunities like this to celebrate the advancement of science and also our small place in the big world, but sometimes our little voice can still be heard way out across the waves, as we are tonight. And I'd like to say to them over in America, great, thanks very much for your support. That's the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, who are responsible for this deployment of the Buoy. The Gilman Corporation actually constructed for them, and Fergus will tell you the story about that later on. It's Fergus's night. I'm going to hand you over to Richie first, and we're delighted that Richie O'Donnell came here. As you'll all know Richie well, a fantastic documentary and filmmaker, and I'd like to thank Richie for his support in this. It's always a good thing to have people who work in the media involved in an exhibition because they bring it in. It's great. We would also like Mawíchas a Hurch to Ali na Gaeltachta. When Fergus came to me and he said, there's something in this, there's a story, I just went, yes, absolutely, let's tell it. Buochas the Kalash the Cumann, na Dalti on a Hidervlin, Tashi the Lug and Shaw, Timple na Harte. Yeah, they're probably all shy. Taras Jack guys, agus a Kalini. Rinne she'd saw a job big Dane on Cleavon Shaw. And there was a lot of cooperation, co-farticht a goal lesson tugra Shaw. Guys, well done. Guys is a collective term. I think also to spawn and shay Keiko Tavis to talk Kursi Aline, it shows how important the arts are. And it also, I think, it brings it very much to the ground where art is for everyone. It's about simple expression. And I would hope that this is the first of many collaborations and commissions that we will have for local artists, because the indigenous art that is created here is as important, if not more important, than the stuff we import here, which plays its part too. It has a value too, of course it does. But it's important that we develop that, and that everybody here sees this centre and what we do as a support for it. It belongs to you. We run it on your behalf, and hopefully we can continue to do that with the support of groups like Ali na Gaeltachta, who I have to say straight on board came in and threw us a few bob, because there's always costs involved in these things. I'm going to pass you over to Richie. Míle buíochas Risha Suck Chocht. Tell your friends, family about it, and enjoy a glass of wine later on. And just to say, it's in 4 kind of parts. You have the part there that Kalash the Cumann did, and they built this cradle and set it here. which tells the story of the projected route that we reckon it went on, and this was in consultation with the Woods Hole Institute and following na fachtaí, the currents, na shruthanna. And these were sent over by the Woods Hole Institute, and this is the shots and the video that you're watching that Fergus, who else could have done it, that Fergus did. So I'll hand you over to Richie. He's around here behind me somewhere. There he is. Good man, Richie. Yep. They're afraid I'll keep talking.
Brought my Tom Green jumper. I thought it'd be freezing. Pop it on like that. I won't say a whole lot. What I will say is, I'll give a bit of kind of context. We're out with Fergus today doing the news piece, and we came back from Blacksod, and we're driving by Ely Bay, and I stopped and I picked up a bit of rock here, which is gneiss, it's called, and it's 1.8 billion years old. Very, very, very old. Some of the oldest rock in Ireland and Western Europe. And back when this was formed, Ireland and Greenland and Newfoundland, we were all on the same space of land. So if you were out in Blacksod, you could walk across to Greenland or to Newfoundland and walk back again. If you go to the east coast of Canada and Newfoundland, you'll find the exact same rock as this. And roll on to about 200 million years ago, when the dinosaurs were roving the earth. At the time when the material for oil and gas was laid down, we started to separate from Greenland and from Newfoundland, and the oceans separated. So now we're separated from Newfoundland and Greenland by thousands of miles. And it's funny like that, once upon a time we were so connected, and then we separated over time, and now we're being brought back together again. We're realizing actually, even though we're thousands of miles away, you know, how connected we really are. And I think it's brilliant that Fergus came across this buoy, synchronicity probably, that this buoy like is a messenger that, you know, it tells us that how connected we are, and everything we do in our lifestyle and in the North Atlantic and the globe affects everywhere else. What's happening in the Arctic, the contraction of the Arctic ice sheet, is that affecting the storms that we're getting around here? We were down at the lighthouse earlier, a big gaping hole in a massive granite wall. That lighthouse has been there for 150 years. So we've got to start thinking, you know, is there something happening with our seas, and is all this connected? So I think the buoy it's a fantastic messenger to remind us and to provoke kind of research and debate about how important that is. And I think it's really good that yourself and Brendan and students as well have kind of come together and actually put together a fantastic exhibition, you know, and something that there's a real appetite out there for people to see and to hear about, because it's a real changing world. Things are changing very fast. Communication, you know, now once Eris was remote. Now Eris it can be at the forefront of renewable energy technology. Biggest waves in Western Europe, the greatest potential for renewable energy. So it's about looking towards the future, and a future in which we can develop, but yet in which we don't detract from the rest of the globe, and a future that we can hopefully help to kind of rebuild habitats in areas that we're currently destroying. So, Fergus, you might say a few words. No bother, you weren't shy earlier, no bother to you. And as well, students might have something to say too, because you know, you were very much a part of this project. So, hand over to Fergus, and you can pass this around if you want. Huh? I actually took it out of the wall in Blacksod. That's what started the...
Yeah, so I'll pop that into there. That's good, yeah. Is the mic on?
There you go. Actually, put up and under, because you'll be talking for a while.
You sure?
Yeah. Turn off the camera there for a minute. Wash this hand.
There's plenty of people that pay good money to do that. Stuff. I suppose before we start, I would just like to thank one and all for coming here tonight. We had the word out on Facebook, and we were doing mail shots and invites and that, so it's absolutely fantastic to get a turnout like this. So thanks a million, folks, for taking the time and having the interest to come and see this tonight. I very much appreciate it, as I know do the rest of the guys involved. It was on the 28th of September. I was doing a little bit of video work on the stretch of coast between Blacksod and Fallmore. I think most people would be familiar with that stretch of coastline. It was, as I've told the story a few times now in the last few weeks, it was getting dark. I spotted something yellow up ahead. I thought, looking at it straight away, I thought, oil drum? I thought, no, they're usually all rusted by the time they reach dry land. You know, I thought that's something different. It's getting a bit dark. I think I'll head home. I'll come back in the morning and check it out, and that's what I did. When I got down to it, I realised it was something different. I knew that it wasn't an empty barrel. I knew it wasn't fishing gear. I'm used to seeing fishing gear all my life. So instinctively, I kind of knew that it was a research buoy or some form of scientific buoy. Did a bit of research with the company who manufactured it, and we sent a photograph of it as I had found it to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And because the people in the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute are so busy with their work, they looked at it and went, no, I don't think that's ours. I got the message back. I was kind of, at this stage, I put 2 weeks into it. I was enthralled by it. And so I was disappointed it wasn't the Woods Hole. Continued a search. We were using the records from the company who manufactured it. They were going through their records. But again, you know, you have to remember these people were, it was just another day in the week for them. I was the only one that found something special. So then things were dragging on. I was kind of getting going, oh, we'll never find out who owns this. So I thought, okay, how would Sherlock Holmes do it? And I thought, well, Sherlock Holmes 2013 as it was at the time, I went to Google Images and I typed in yellow Gilman buoy ice, because I had a hunch, we had a hunch that it came from Greenland, and I got a photograph back, which is actually this photograph here on the end. And straight away I said to myself, I've got you. So I emailed the Gilman company. I went, please have a look at this. This is the buoy that I have. And they replied and said, we will forward this on. Probably about 2.5 hours later, I got an email back, and they said, yep, it's WHOI tethered, ice-tethered profiler. So I knew straight away I'd found something, and I said, that's fantastic. Where was it put in the ice? They kind of gave me a little check back, said, we'll get back to you in a day or two, and said, North Pole. I was sitting at home, I went, wow. I said, this thing was in the North Pole, and it somehow found its way to Blacksod. How cool is that? So I then started to absolutely pester 2 guys who worked for the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. Initially, it was Stephen Lambert. I started to bombard him with emails about the buoy, what it did. They provided me with email links. I started to learn a little bit more about it. We then started to move on to identify it. I had a feeling that there was stuff stored inside it, and Stephen informed me how to open it. He told me what components to look for. The main component was the Iridium satellite modem. He said that we would have to open that modem and remove a SIM card. That SIM card would have a unique number, and he'd know from that number which buoy I had found. So I think on the day, I got my brother, I got my daughter, and we brought Jimbo the dog, and we headed back down to the buoy because it was still about a 25-minute walk from the road. We went down with just a bag of tools, and we managed to take the white cap off the buoy. And when we did, we immediately knew that everything was destroyed in it. There was all sorts of crazy gunk in there. But there was also the Iridium satellite modem. We took that out, brought it home. I got Jerry Sweeney, their dad, to get out his trusty battery drill. And I says, Dad, I think we'll have to drill that open. It looks fairly seized up. We used 3 hardened drill bits to get into it, and a lot of profanities and bad language. But eventually we did get into it. We got the SIM card. I took a photograph. I ran home. I emailed it to the Woods Hole, and I waited. And they came back to me and said, they said, you found ITP 35 at the time. And I thought, great, I found ITP 35. So I started this idea maybe a day or two into it, and it was ITP 35. I then received an email a few days later going, oh, sorry, Fergus, we need to correct you. ITP 35 was damaged, refitted, and now became ITP 47. And following that, then they sent me all the data on when it had been put in the ice, how many readings they had got off it, the day they lost it, how it disappeared, popped back up again, still working, sent off its data, and then finally it ceased. Once we had discovered it, we were, I was happy. I'd kind of reached what I'd wanted to do. I had found something on the beach. I had traced it back. I had spoken to the man who had designed the electronics that went inside it. I thought, how much further can you go with this before you start to obsess? What can you do, you know? And I thought, maybe there's something we could do with this. I'm sure people would be interested to come and look at this. This is not something we're ever going to see, you know. If somebody said, well, hey, do you want to come to my house and look at a part of the Mars rover in 50 years' time? I'm sure the house would be full. So I thought, there has to be, you know, this has to be something that will grip the imagination. The guys in Woods Hole told me that I could destroy it and send them the bill for destroying it, because it contained batteries in the case, and there is a slight chance that they do explode sometimes. These ones are safe enough. They've reached their explode by date. They're not going to explode. But I said, no, guys, do you mind if I just clean it out, maybe make it safe and do something with it? They didn't ask me what I wanted to do with it. They just said, yeah, sure, go for it. So then I thought, okay, how do we do this? I went home, I thought about it. I suppose when I get an idea, I tend to pace a lot and just think it through in my own little world, and that's what I did. And I think I sat down in front of my computer and I typed up a little, just kind of a brief outline of this idea I had for this exhibition. And I remember I drove into town the next day, and I think I was nearly sweating coming in the door, and I met Brendan, and he had a cup of coffee, and I think he was standing beside Ian, and they were chatting. And anyone who knows me, when I'm in a tizzy, I'm like a little tornado. I just burst in, I went, Brendan, I've got this idea, would you mind having a look at it? And could I get a cup of coffee? And Brendan said, sure, get a coffee, and he grabbed that, and he had a look at it. And he went, brilliant, fantastic, how do you make this happen, you know? So I suppose, when Brendan said to me, how do I make this happen? The next thing was, he's right, how do I make this happen? And I suppose, in a way, it only happened because whenever I told the story to someone who I needed to get involved in the project, they went, that's amazing, yeah, I want to help. So basically, the reason, I suppose, that we can say that we're here tonight and I have the exhibition I wanted is because of other people's generosity and how other people helped me to visualize this and get it out there. One of the most beautiful things about it too is almost every aspect of it comes from Earth, bar the buoy, obviously, that comes from Massachusetts, but everything that was into it, the skills, the ideas, the artwork, was done by people from Earth. And it's a great Earth story, and it's a great thing for Earth to have. And again, because of that, it's a reflection on the people that helped out. We've had the young people from Clostercombe, Rossduiga. I had a great time working with them, kind of flying up and down once a week, and then it kind of got a little bit more intense towards the end. But they're a great bunch, and they loved the idea, and they came on board. So that, you know, to have them on board was absolutely fantastic. Sorry, no, I'm drying up a little bit, but I've done a lot of work with Clostercombe in the past in my previous employment. And Eris is very fortunate that we have generally, across the board, up and down the peninsula, we've great schools from primary to secondary. We really do, and they're great, and we send some great people out into the world to do great things. However, I always feel when I work with Clostercombe that the minute you walk in the doors of that school, there's something very special there. It's a very small school from a very tight-knit community, and they're just a very special school to work with. And you know, that's down to the staff, the principal, Jason Mangan, the teachers, and the students. You know, they do an absolutely fantastic job. Sorry, I'm going to have to take a drink. I'm drying out. So I'm shaking and drying out. And I'm sober. Yeah, Clostercombe, just what an asset to the area, and to have these guys on board. And the thing about Clostercombe is it's great because Drifted is getting loads of promotion at the minute. People are very interested, and Clostercombe's name will shine through in that. But the thing is, you know, watch the school down the road as well. It'll shine through in other things, you know. So from myself on the Drifted side of things and the exhibition, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for helping me get here. My brother Dermot is a computer games designer, and he's been working on some of his portfolio stuff lately. So he's at home with a bad headache because he's been looking at computer screens too long, playing computer games, and he says it's research. Dermot helped to take some of the photographs here because, as you can see, it was kind of a team effort on the day. So I'd just like to acknowledge Dermot for that. We don't get to acknowledge him too often, so we have to take our chances. I know he's a great guy and he helped out. He got out of his bed a few mornings early for that to help me. Also, you'll notice, guys, that we have a beautiful tractor there ploughing along. I'd like to thank the Gertie family from Fallmore. I said to myself, how am I going to get this thing out of here? And again, I got poor Dermot up out of the bed and we went back. And when we went back, it was waterlogged. So, I mean, it was 3 or 4 times its weight. And myself and Dermot lifted it and he looked at me and laughed and we just put it down and he says, right, plan B. So I asked the man at the moment here at the tractor, would he go back for it? And Mick did. Mick said he'd go back. It took him well over an hour to get back from his own house back there. There's no roads back there. So it was well over an hour to get back. Maybe 20 minutes messing around to get it in and having a look at it, and another hour and 20 back for Mick. So fair play and thanks a million. It was so important and you did a great job getting it back first. And thank Rosemary as well. There's so many people I actually have to thank, and I know I'm forgetting people. I approached some of the local businesses in town, a couple of them, and I asked them, look, I'd like to get jumpers made up for the guys. I think it's nice that they have a little keepsake and that they can turn out on the night with little jumpers. And the businesses jumped straight on board. They were fantastic. There was the Broadhaven Bay, there was the Talbot Hotel, there was Brogan's Euro Spar, and there was Chock John Joe's in Acklew. You know, they came on board and, you know, I got a quote for jumpers for the guys. And by 6 o'clock that evening, I was handing an envelope across the counter going, fantastic, you know, we've got our jumpers. So thanks very much to the local businesses. I know it's a hard time for businesses out there, but it's great that they come on board. And they did. I didn't have to do much bending of arms at all. They jumped on board. So to the local businesses who helped, thanks very much. There was one local business I left out. Chevlin's lent us a van. We had to go to Westport to collect some stuff and we had no van, so they bailed us out at the last minute. That was absolutely fantastic as well, so thanks to Chevlin's there. I suppose I can't really talk about the story of the project without talking about the people that I had to interact with in finding out information on the buoy. I suppose my first stop was the Gilman Corporation, and the person that I dealt with there was Elizabeth Gilman. She's a director at the company. I never spoke to her. A couple of emails were sent back and over. I have sent a few emails since, and I haven't got a reply, so I don't know, maybe she's happy to have done her bit. But without Elizabeth's help, we would never have identified the buoy, so it's very important that I do acknowledge the manufacturers of the outer shell of it, something they specialise in. Turning over to the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, the main people I was dealing with there were Steve Lambert. He's an engineer on the ITP programme. Steve was able to tell me all about the electronics. You know, I think he's the guy that packs them, basically. And then there was John O'Toole. John O'Toole, one of the first things John told me is that his ancestors hail from County Clare. I told him that doesn't really cut the mustard when you're in Mayo, but we're delighted for him. John and Stephen, I suppose when I look at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and it's a very prestigious institution and a very well-known institution, and indeed many Irish people go on to work there and research there. I always got a feel that, you know, they consider themselves a very big family. They love what they do. They love what they do. I think, I suppose they are aware of how unique the work that they do. You know, not everyone gets to go to the North Pole to put a yellow buoy in it and spend the day there, you know. So I know that they're very passionate about their work and they're very dedicated to their work. I sometimes feel that, you know, maybe when ITP 47 stopped transmitting, they kind of signed a little docket and said, bye-bye ITP 47, thank you for your service. I think it's very important to acknowledge that the work that Stephen and John do and their colleagues in the Woods Hole, it allows people like myself and other people who have an interest in this stuff, you know, what they do allows us to follow what's going on in the world's oceans, what's happening in the world. Just as we need photographers and people to do art exhibitions, we need researchers and scientists. We need them to tell us what's happening in our planet, because we wouldn't know otherwise. So their work is hugely important. Their work has always been hugely important, but I think their work will become more important now. I think more of people like us will appreciate their work. We're all very aware of the weather we've had in the last couple of weeks, you know. We're all very, we're all very aware of what spots in this locality, what roads get eaten up, where can you not drive your car, For anybody who's ever wondered, why does this happen? How come last year was grand, but this year is like this? How come I have to drive all the way around, the back of lane to get to Blacksod when I used to be able to go this way? Why is the road gone? And there's no simple word for it, it's gone, It's climate change. The world's climate is changing. The polar ice caps play a major part in stabilising world climate. And the likes of John and Stephen, who work in the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, they're telling us, they can tell you, when it's happening. They can tell you when the dramatic changes occurred. They have the facts and figures. It's not a secret, the research is there, it's been done. So I suppose in order for us to be here tonight, to have this exhibition, we need John O'Toole and Stephen Lambert as well. We need those type of people who, inspire people like me to take an interest in this stuff. And to maybe, when I see something washed up on the beach, to go, geez, I think I could do something with that, rather than, oh geez, that's interesting, and carry on walking, So I would like to thank the guys at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, Stephen Lambert and John O'Toole, and everybody there for their work. It's your work that has us here tonight, and I feel that that's very worthwhile, and I'm delighted to be here. So just while we have them on the live stream, and while I can, I would just like to thank them very much for their help in helping me bring this together. Just to kind of wander away from the ITP side of it for a minute, if I could. I came to Brendan and I said, look, I've got this idea. I'm not a great person for sitting down and I can write loads of stuff and I can type away, but you want to see the grammar. I mean, it's fáiseach, I think is the word. I brought this kind of proposal to Brendan, and it had warts and all on it, but Brendan seen it for what it was, and he came on board fantastically. We met Jason Mangan in the hall literally 10 minutes after we finished our own meeting, and we said, Jason, we have an idea for your school. And so everything started to snowball. But the one thing I did have all the way was huge support from Áras Innisglora here, from the staff of Áras Innisglora. They just came on board. That's Brendan, Ian, Tony, Colm. I'm starting to forget names now, just as I have to call them out, but you know who we are. Everybody in the staff here were absolutely fantastic. They helped out in every way they could. They really got on board the project, and I can't claim this as my project. I would claim that I found the Buoy, even though I think Tom Heenan found it before me. He just didn't say anything. I might have found the Buoy, but it really would not have happened without all the help, as I said at the start, but also the backing of the staff here at Áras Innisglora. They are fantastic. This week gone by, I know some of them have had some personal things and they weren't around for that, and that's, again, I'd like to offer them my sympathies there, but I would also like to thank them in the way that they came back in and got stuck back into the project, and that's fantastic. It shows great dedication. And speaking as someone who uses this place to showcase my own work, and I like to come here to view events and do things, I know that, this place is a real asset to Balmullet. It's an asset that's doing great work, but it's still underutilised, I think, by the locals themselves in Earth. So I think, going forward, if you enjoy what you see here, spread the word for the guys, because there's not many people you can walk into and say, look, I'm after finding this on the beach, so just bear with me for a minute because I have an idea. And this is the idea, and it's here, it's real. And that's it, it's brilliant. Thanks very much. Try and get a few words out of the kids.
Guys, yes. We'll just go to the lads in a sec. I feel in all conscience I can't ask you for the 150 for that coffee now. But Fergus put in an extraordinary amount of work into this. He really, really did. And his eye for detail was absolutely fantastic. And I think I'd just like to, I'm going to finish now, build on what Fergus said. Please, the door here is always open to the most crazy idea on earth. We can do something with it. And once again, I also think it is absolutely great, Fergus put it very eloquently, that science and art are inextricably linked, because we're both seeking some sort of knowledge, truth, understanding. And I think it's great when there's an interaction. Guys, you look fantastic in your tops. Maybe one of the girls would like to act as a spokesperson and tell us about your experience on it.
I'll take it. So I can do stand in back next came down to the school there one day, and I suppose when we seen him from the first day we thought he was raving a bit and we didn't think it would go ahead, but just to see how enthusiastic he was about the project and to be in here now tonight and see everyone here, and it's just surreal to think that it's come this far and that something like this has come and landed back in Blacksod. I suppose many things have landed in Blacksod, but nothing like this. So,
Nothing you'd put on exhibition anyways.
so yeah, just thanks again, Fergus, for getting us involved, and everyone here at Ocean Exploring.
And in this age of equality, maybe one of the lads would say.
Maybe one of the boys. Jeez, I don't know, they did a lot of talking since September. Do you wanna?
I'd just like to thank you, Fergus, for getting us involved in this project. It's been amazing for us as students and for the school to be involved in this project that drifted all the way down from Greenland. It's amazing, like.
It's great. Thanks a million.
We will be bringing in the schools. We're going to send out an invite to them all. We'll bring them in and we'll give them guided tours around it. But all spread the word, have another glass of wine, and go to Míle Magas of Chop to reach the end, and Cogorgigus to Fergus. Well done.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for coming, Pat.